This I can get behind. Our defenses are useless. Hit 'em hard, my funny little minions.
How is this possible?
The ant can't. They follow their enchantment. Share the story of the time you got all beat up by Ant-Man. Foul magic you wield. I haven't had this much fun since before I was dead.
Well, I don't know if you guys liked that as much as I did, but that's my Ant-Man build, or in action, I should say, build in action. This is basically a ranged for the colony build, if you will. everything is focused around popping as many for the colonies as you humanly can, because this move hits basically as strong as most people's signatures do when it brutals. It gets some seriously nice damage on it, and it's a tidal wave. Probably the most satisfying move in the whole game, to just unload on like a mob of trash. So as you can see in that build video, basically what you're doing is you're coming in and out of melee and ranged. You're only tapping with the melee, really. Most of the time for trash clear and just area spam, you're doing your bioelectric blast. This allows you to stay safe at ranged, especially in like harder hitting areas like a patrol zone, something like that. This also weakens everyone, and this will generate your ants really quickly. Bioelectric blast will. When I'm on a single target, I do tiny takedown, just real fast attack speed, and then also it will auto proc some of the talents that I got on here. So just going down the line here, we got tiny takedown. This is our target lock for a single target. This will basically be your main spender for single targets. For multiple targets, it'll be bioelectric blast. This is that cone attack you see there. Hits 3 times. You get a lot of criticals from this. Build your ants really quick. When you do tiny takedown and kind of weave in some bioelectric blast, you'll really generate ants pretty quickly. This is his dash. Just turned small. Probably one of the coolest looking dashes, I think. So this is what was holding me back from making this build a while ago, is tanker throw. This skill is so good now. Probably my favorite skill that he's got. I mean, besides for the colony, but this move graphically as well as damage wise is phenomenal. So before, this had a bug in it where this actually wasn't doing any kind of damage over time after it hit the ground, and they finally fixed it. So now when you throw out your big tank, and of course I'm in a glitched area, but right now there's a big zone of fire here on the ground that will be burning guys. Yeah, it's kind of glitched right now, but it does work, I promise. And then we got drone strike. This is another huge area dot that slows guys, so that's really good. Between tanker throw and drone strike, you're just doing 2 layers of dots that stack. Both hit really hard and are good at whittling down trash mobs, along with the bioelectric blast. So that's how I was clearing out a lot of guys, was these 3 moves: tanker throw, drone strike, bioelectric blast for good trash clear. Makes quick work or terminals just between those 3. And then as you build up your ants, you're unloading for the colonies, so you're getting these huge area sweeps of million-plus hits in a row. And then you're using Bigfoot sighting, which is also a huge damage stomp, as well as regenerates his spirit, gives him extra health, yada yada yada. His signature is amazing. Plus he becomes Giant Man, which is even more amazing. And then we have Friends in Low Places. This is just your backup for the colony generator. If you're ever in between battles, you pop this, automatically jump to 10 ants. I apologize guys, I'm yawning here. But this will allow you to activate all of your ants for the colony, the wave. Now that will just keep traveling until it finally runs out of steam, but it's usually about a screen length, which is phenomenal. And then again, Friends in Low Places, that is how you can generate your ants that run around with you and all that good stuff. So that's everything on the skill bar. Let's jump into the tree here under talents. So he is a very, very unique hero. He may be the only one that is this archetype. He's a savant. So he's speed and intelligence. Very, very weird pairing of attributes there. So it makes gearing kind of difficult, and some of his tags are a little weird. So he's kind of an interesting hero to gear out, and I'll explain what his gear is and why it is that way when we get there. So his secondary resource is ants, which you saw here. His ants do damage over time, so as you're building them up, they just kind of make a little area effect damage kind of thing around you, which is pretty cool. They cost no spirit to spend and use. So skills that are just ant, they don't use any spirit cost at all. And then his defense type is nimble, so he's dodge, deflect. He's got some damage reduction from popping some melees. He's got extra dodge chance. So that's all good. Row 1, we're using skill 3. This is Art of the Swarm. It says Tiny Takedown summons 10,000 ants if you have less than 4,000 ants. So every one of these tick marks is 1,000. So if I have 1, 2, 3, 4 or less, this talent says that anytime I use this skill, which is him punching, that's why I was weaving in and out. I'd hit guys from a distance, and after every 12 seconds, you can run, and if you just poke a guy one time, boop, like that, you automatically will spike to full ants, which is great. So that will help with for the colony generations big time. That's why we're using it. So one little tip I have when you're doing this build is if you're kind of teetering on the edge of like 5 or 6, and you think in your head, just kind of mentally be like, hey, it's been a while since I've actually tapped someone with a tiny takedown. Just sometimes it's beneficial to drop a couple drone strikes, even if you're over spamming. You can hold 3 areas down, so you can do 1, 2, 3 at one time. That's a huge area to clear, but that would put you at 4. So now if I went up and tapped someone, it'd instantly spike me to full ants again. So that's how that talent works in with our skills here. Basically, you keep your ants low, and anytime you use for the colony and you tap this, or you hit someone with tiny takedown immediately after for the colony, assuming the cooldown of 12 seconds is over with, you immediately can for the colony one more time right after that. So that just helps really, really well with pushing those things out. Enemies take 20% more damage from ant powers for 6 seconds when you hit with a non-ant power. Well, guess what? Bioelectric Blast is a non-ant power, so we are spamming this and boosting our ant damage for the colony and our drone strikes. 20% more damage right there, so that's real good. So row 3 of talents, this is what I was talking about. We were waiting on this one to be fixed so we could use it in the build. This is what completes the build. Tanker Throw, it transforms little car into the tanker car, which says it does damage on impact, and it does a 4,000 twice per second dot damage for 6.6 seconds, and it has a stun. It's an amazing skill, to say the least. It's awesome, and it is very fitting that it is in this build for that very reason. We needed another damage layer, and that works perfectly. For huge mobs, it hits more than one guy, which is why we really wanted it, because we're all about area. Okay, so on tier 4, I know a lot of people do the 1-2 punch, and I'm not a huge fan of the ant decoy just yet. So I do the large drone strike, and I don't know if you guys could tell from me spamming these how big these things are. I mean, 3 of them is almost an entire screen, so that's a whole screen full of 6,000 twice per second with a huge slow for free. I mean, it's ants, but you're generating ants all the time, so it's free. So that's a great skill for us, just huge area of effect for that. And then under row 5, we're using ants for days. This says ant powers have a 15% chance to not spend ants at all. So that includes for the colonies. So it is odd. I mean, you have a chance. It's not all the time, but there is a chance where you will throw out for the colony and this won't turn gray. It will literally just say that you didn't spend any ants at all, so you can immediately follow it up with another for the colony. I've rolled it a couple times where I've gotten 6 in a row. I know that's extremely rare, but when you're spamming these out all the time and you see that skill activated, you're activating it, because that's how this build works, is you're pumping as many of these for the colonies out as you can. So, I mean, you could roll the dice. See, there was one. I just threw that out and it didn't go away. There's another one. Up, rolled twice, You can see the power of that. I didn't do anything at all, didn't cast a skill, just this talent right here, and for days allowed me to cast 3 of his most powerful moves in a row. So you roll the dice every time, but sometimes you'll get those lucky rolls and you will just send out tidal wave after tidal wave for the colonies, and that is a great, great feeling. Let's hop right into the gear, guys. I'm doing Blessed Gem of the Curse. This is just a pure damage artifact. I'm doing the Curse terminal to try and get the cosmically enhanced version of this, just because it's just better to have cosmic affixes. Excuse me. Got a cosmically enhanced Lizard's formula. This is great on him. Attack speed, damage. It's one of the few artifacts that actually has speed on it, which is really good for him. We could also roll intelligence if you so chose to, but this is a good artifact for him. He has some survivability issues, so I like to play on the fact that he attacks really fast with Tiny Takedown and attacks multiple enemies with Bioelectric Blast. That's why I'm using Lemuria's, and then this also says whenever you critically hit, you regenerate health and spirit. So basically you're almost always full on both of those resources, which is great. Using the Grim Reaper Medallion, this could be Doom Medallion if you so choose. That'd be another good alternative, but he only does physical damage, so this gives you brutal damage, physical damage, extra spirit, and regenerate health whenever you defeat an enemy. And you're defeating a lot of enemies, so you're regenerating a lot of health here. And now this is probably the only artifact that was designed for Ant-Man. So if you're not using a Blessed Scroll communication device, you got to get yourself one for Ant-Man alone. Crit, hit, health regen, speed, defense, and it says whenever you hit with the power, you gain intelligence stacks up to 3. So basically it's 5 primary attributes with crit hit rating and health regen and defense. Amazing artifact for Ant-Man. You gotta have it. Okay, and then the last slot here is the Blessed Edge of Infinity, and there is a reason why you use the Blessed Edge of Infinity over something like the the Crossbones Teaching Credentials. Sorry, I'm real tired. I gotta put myself to bed here soon, like an old man. Blessed Edge of Infinity over Crossbone Teaching Credentials, because Crossbone Teaching Credentials benefits ranged attacks. Now, Ant-Man does have a few ranged attacks, but you'll notice that some of his moves don't have the ranged affix. So For the Colony doesn't benefit anything from it. Drone Strike doesn't benefit anything from it. Bigfoot Sighting wouldn't. Tiny Takedown only gets from the melee aspect of it. So because some of his ant powers aren't tagged ranged, even though they are, you lose out on a lot of the bonuses that the Crossbone Teaching Credentials would benefit you. So you got to use something a little more vanilla, a little more generic. That's why the Blessed Edge of Infinity comes in, and it does its job very well. I'm rolling about 50% crit with these artifacts on, and my Infinity and all that good stuff. So it helps with the Bioelectric Blasts, and then also the Tanker Throw damage, and trying to brutal with those For the Colonies all the time. Power Dupe, you could also use God of Mischief if you have one. He benefits from duration because of his stomp. If you have skill duration enhancement kind of things that make your duration of skills go up, then you'll get his buff effect of the health bonus for a little bit longer than just the 8 seconds. It used to be the full duration of the cooldown before the biggest update ever, so I guess that was too powerful. But anyways, Power Dupe just really ramps up the brutal damage, and that's what we're going for. It's just huge red numbers with For the Colony, so that's why I went that route. Savage Axe Ares, he's all physical damage, greatest ever right there. I'm using all of his own uniques. These could be swapped out with some other powerful ones. I don't like to think a lot. I actually like the effects on some of these, like his health regen on his slot 1 and slot 2. These help you stay alive pretty well. That's why I've left them where they are. You get defense rating whenever you use your shrink power, and you got a shrink power, so that's cool. Ant-Man, helmet of Ant-Man. I think we just followed suit with this. Just primary stats primarily are why we're using it, because there aren't too many things that give you speed, so gotta really ramp him up through his own uniques. The advanced technology systems catalyst, shoot for something with a health shield and anything with primary stats.
Maybe I should consider picking up some
And
freelance gigs.
health and life on regen is also a great affix. I go for that one almost every time over just flat health on hit. Insignia of Mr. Fantastic, since he's also intelligence with speed, this is a great insignia. We do a lot of melee with his stomp and his punch, so it benefits from that a little bit. And then base health helps a lot because Bigfoot sighting will also ramp up your base health. So we're rocking a lot of health all the time on Ant-Man because he is a little squishy. And we're going with intelligence and base health and melee powers and brutal damage. These stats are just, I mean, they're already here. I never really try to perfect any of my pets. It's like whatever I get. I only roll the unique slot usually in the green because those two can roll pretty good ones. I like base health and I like getting 3 of the primary stat. Outside of that, I'm not nitpicking or anything. That's an incredible core. I just must have found that. Wow. Holy shit. So anyways, guys, that is the build, the gear, and let's go into the Infinity System real quick. This is not perfected by any means, but make sure you're getting your crit hit up there as high as you can. Definitely put Mind Over Matter. Definitely get as much of the brutal damage and strike as you can. Really try to ramp up his signature a lot because his stomps every 20 seconds. That's pretty frequent for a signature, and it does really good damage, especially if you're like right on top of a guy. It'll really squish him. I really like against odds, all odds. This passive health regen is nice because when you're kiting, you're still regenerating health. A lot of people will go for inner resilience, but I think when you're too hot in a situation, you got to kite out. This definitely is non-situational. Health regen is great. And I'm using Gravity Well. Love base health on him. Definitely helps him stay alive. He's pretty meaty after all these health increases we give him. Temporal Loophole is phenomenal on Ant-Man. His attack speeds are really good anyways. I don't exactly know the breaking point of what attack speed you want, but I will give you a reference of what I got right now, and it seems to work great. 28.2, maybe the break point's 28, maybe it's 26, I don't know. It is slightly up there though, however, just to get really good attack speed on this thing. And hero synergies using Angela for speed, Blade for speed on attack, Cable, always rocking Cyclops, Elektra, Iceman because you're always attacking slowed targets inside a drone strike. Got a lot of area damage. Again, damage to slowed targets. Moon Knight is crit hit rating multiplier to physical powers, which we're all physical. And we got Wolverine for the brutal strike and damage. You could easily rock some of these other ones. I probably should put Beast on. Maybe we'll do Beast because he's intelligence and melee. That seems like a better fit. And then that's pretty good damage there actually. Let me take off. I'm gonna take off Elektra, and I'm gonna rock Ultron for another intelligence. Seems like a good trade-off. So that should give me some more intelligence stat. Yeah, that's good. So I'm rocking 35 and 24. Outside of that, I'm doing Quicksilver on passive because it's just +1 to more speed and some extra dodge rating, which is good because he's a dodge deflect hero. So you can't go wrong with that. that's it, guys. I've been really waiting on this skill to be complete so I could bring you this build. I love Ant-Man, and this build it's just fun. I don't know. I have a lot of fun doing this build and sending these tidal waves out and just watching the numbers crash down across all these guys. It's awesome. Sometimes the targeting on this is a little wonky. Like, you'll be right on top of a boss, punching him with tiny takedown, and you cast it, and it seems like it ghosts the damage out, meaning like it doesn't hit him. You don't see the damage register at all. So what I suggest is as you're punching your boss and you're generating all your stuff, let's say you're punching him and you got your For the Colony ready to rock, I suggest dashing out and casting backwards towards him. That way your damage hitbox is already set up for the shield. And hey, look, I just rolled a free one. So that the damage hitboxes actually apply, because sometimes when you're directly on a target punching them like this and you cast the For the Colony, it will generate like behind them for some reason. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't, and it definitely helps to make sure this lands every time. So I hope you guys like this build. I really like this build a lot myself, and I'll be playing the shit out of it. So give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in game at Slovosh. Peace.